my name is Isha, and this is my COM 203 speech named Racial Bias in Our Criminal Justice System. Breonna Taylor and Fairwayne Bryant. These names might ring a bell to you. Well, they single-handedly transformed America through their shared backstory of racial injustice in our criminal justice system. The criminal justice system has its inherent flaws, unfortunately, and notably a pervasive presence of racial bias that detrimentally affects people of color and their families. In our supposed progressive and enlightening era, it's really disheartening to see that people are treated differently based on the color of their skin. And we need to do something about this. We have witnessed this issue for far too long now, and it's perpetuating inequality in a multitude of ways. We need to confront this issue head on so we can create a better society for our people and future generations. But we need to start with what is racial bias in our criminal justice system? Well, it refers to the unfair treatment or unequal outcome that occurs because a person is a person of color. This bias can be used in various stages, and it can happen while arresting someone, sentencing, and policing. A notable example, as mentioned before, was Breonna Taylor. If you don't know her, this is her story. In March of 2020, a search warrant was executed, and policemen forcefully entered her apartment without her permission and shot her multiple times, and unfortunately, she died. This sparked outrage in our society, and so many things happened, such as protests, to advocate for the wrongdoing. This sort of racism, however, is not an unprecedented issue. It happens on the daily. According to the Sanford Open Policing Project, Black drivers are more likely to be stopped than white people. And according to the Journal Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by policemen than white people. These two things suggest presence of bias in our society, and it's really wrong that this is happening. If Black people are more likely to be stopped and searched than white people for doing the same thing, what does that say about our society? The second name that was mentioned before was Fairwayne Bryant. In 1997, he stole a pair of hedge clippers from a storage room. It doesn't sound that bad, right? Wrong. Well, according to the jury. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this is really saddening to hear because a Black man who did such an innocent crime was sentenced so harshly. This received national attention, and a lot happened. Advocacy groups advocated for the wrongdoing, and so many people tried to support his release. However, none of that worked. But this case can be a focal point, and it can lead to sentencing reform, and it can cause change. Black men that committed the same crimes as white men are 20% likely or have 20% longer sentences, according to the United States Sentencing Commission. This is insane to hear, and it just goes to show how much racial bias really does happen in our criminal justice system. And we need to do something about this. However, addressing this issue requires comprehensive efforts in a multitude of ways, but it can start with two things, actually. It can start with education and awareness. This type of systematic racism is not going to end very quickly, but it can start by explaining this issue and putting it in our school curriculum. It can shape the minds of young people, and it can really foster an understanding and create change for a new generation. We can also do policy reforms. We can advocate for policy changes, and we can do equity, and we can create fairness. We can invest in rehabilitation centers, and we can focus on grassroots activism, and even contact elected officials. There's so much we can do in our society to create change. However, as mentioned before, this issue is not going to be fixed in a day. It's going to cause a lot of work, and that's something that we should be okay with doing. Brianna and Wayne should be a propeller for advocacy and change in our society. The criminal justice system has its flaws, and discrimination is widespread. And this problem needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed quickly. Personally, I'm confident that we can fix this issue. However, we need to fix this issue urgently so we can create a safer and better place for our future generations that might be scared because they're hearing about people who are treated unfairly based on the color of their skin. We can do a lot as a society, and I think we should start now to create change. Here are my notes.